Hello and welcome to the Straz Center's Arts and Mind Village Chat. I'm Fred Johnson. We are honored to once again be together, and this is a very, very, very important coming together because we have representatives from each of our past 5 village chats, and we're really, really excited to come together again. There's a special energy in the room, and we're really, really happy to be together, and of course, very, very happy and honored to be here with our co-host and the co-sponsor of this initiative, Susan Mag Salmon from Johns Hopkins University. Welcome again, Susan. And I will give them now the opportunity to reintroduce themselves or introduce themselves for you for the very first time if you have not yet met them. Dr. David Fakunle, welcome to the Village Chat.
Thank you for having me again, Brother Fred. I am Dr. David Fakunle. I am a performing artist, notably a African storyteller and African drummer, as well as a public health researcher and practitioner.
Thank you, Dr. Lauren Murray. Welcome to the Village Chat.
Thanks so much for having me. I am a professional oboe player, and I teach and perform primarily in a duo called Harmony del Sur, which is with my husband, a trumpet player, and we commission and perform new works for oboe and trumpet, and spend a lot of time helping people kind of explore creative composition and performance with new music. So that's what we spend a lot of time with. So that's really where my interest lies right now.
Very good. Welcome. Dr. Paige Dickinson, welcome to the Village Chat.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. So I am an associate professor in the Creative Arts Collegium at Eckerd College here in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I am both a clinical health psychologist as well as a registered board certified drama therapist. So my primary focus is looking at arts and medicine programming and development, and hopefully doing some more research to really show the communities the work that we do and the power that the arts have as a healing modality.
Thank you, thank you. Abdul Salam and Diane Harvey Salam, welcome to the Village Chat.
Thank you again for having us, Fred. My name is Diane Harvey Salam. I am a performing artist. Dance is my specialty. However, I have crossed over into theater and even a little visual arts. I'm also a dance educator, so I'm directly involved with students in Princeton University and Hofstra and summer programs, and I've been able to watch and help shape lives and heal lives through movement as well.
My name is Abdel Salam, and I'm the artistic director and co-founder of Forces of Nature Dance Theater. Next year, we will be a 40-year-old company based in New York, in Harlem. And I'm also the artistic director of Dance Africa at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. I inherited that post about 5 years ago from my dance father, who is now an ancestor, Baba Chuck Davis. And I have spent, like my wife, approximately, I don't know, I think both of us about maybe 50 years apiece, working and searching for ways to use choreography and dancer performance as a ways and means to help heal our society and to help heal the planet. And that mission continues in this life and hopefully beyond.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Giovanna Perez, welcome to the Village Chat.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me. So great seeing you guys. I am a visual artist, have been my entire life. I specialize in watercolor illustration. And overall in my work, I like to focus in community engagement and education programs, just to use the arts as a tool to reach out to many communities.
Very good. Thank you so much. Jennifer Harmon, welcome to the Village Chat.
Hello, thank you for having me. So as Fred said, I'm Jennifer Harmon. I am the co-founder and president of the Storytellers Alliance. My background for my life has been in performing arts, but later in life, I ended up getting my graduate degree in creative writing. So we work with visual, literary, and performing artists using the arts as a path to healing. We work with the veteran community. We work with children. And really, we do a lot of community outreach programs such as this.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Brittany Cleland, welcome to the Village Chat.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm very excited to engage in this conversation. Like Fred said, I'm Brittany Cleland. I'm a dance movement therapist with Creative Forces. It is an NEA, Military Healing Arts Network, as an initiative from the National Endowment for the Arts, who partners with the Department of Defense, as well as the Veterans Affairs, different state and local art agencies across the nation to help promote, seek health, well-being in active military veterans, their families, and caregivers. So that is a little bit about me and what I'm doing currently, but it has been a part of my mission and life goal is to express through movement and to help heal through movement in dance and various forms of art. So I'm very excited to engage in this conversation with you.
Very good. Welcome. And Brittany is also the newest member of the Straz Center's Arts and Health team. So welcome to the family in terms of that. Another original member of the Arts and Health team and a gentleman who is responsible for a number of us actually being a part of this, Mr. John Parks. Welcome to the Village Chat.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. My name is John Parks. I am a professor at the University of South Florida in the Theater Dance Department. I'm going to talk more about what I do than what I am. And so I have been using dance as a healing modality and also a communicative medium, I guess, for as many years as I've been dancing. I've been a professional dancer, choreographer, director, producer, and I just love bringing people together and sharing ideas, thoughts, aspirations, whims, and desires through movement and moving through time and space. So thank you.
Thank you, John. And the person who is really, really responsible for helping the Straz Center to more fully understand how to begin to have a conversation and how to begin to really compile information and bring together this amazing fusion of artistry and science and research, and who really got us started on our way and suggested that we do this Village Chat is Susan Mag Salmon from Johns Hopkins University. Susan, welcome to the Village Chat, and please give everybody who doesn't already know an overview of the Art and Mind Lab.
I'd be happy to. It's really a pleasure to be here again today with all of you. It's sort of like looking at this beautiful quilt of art, and I'm just so happy to see so many different disciplines on the same page here. So my work at Johns Hopkins is at the International Arts and Mind Lab. We are a center in what we call applied neuroaesthetics. So we're very interested in taking the basic research that's already known about the arts and developing new research around the arts and having that being translated into practice. So how do you use this knowledge to really inform practice? Now, everybody on this call knows that artists have always been way ahead of science and have always known a lot more intuitively about the way the arts change us. So all science is doing is trying to bring some additional information that may be helpful to artists in how they enhance their practice. Maybe that's through more personalized experiences, or just by understanding how some part of the brain works may give you another idea as an artist. We also are very active in thinking about how do you build this field that I've shorthanded to call neuroarts. And, you know, we all come to the arts from different points of view, from different life views. So depending upon how you enter it, you see it in a very different way. And I think that constellation consortium of strength from artists and researchers and practitioners and institutions is actually a strength. There's this amazing diversity. And while I think it's very messy, like often life and art is, we have this amazing strength of diversity in this community. One of the things we're looking at is how do you coalesce the field? How do you help each of these different disciplines know what the other does and be able to mobilize things like policy and funding and other resources that have not been available. So oftentimes the work we do is a love letter to our colleagues and our patients and our families and friends that we work with, but there's not an infrastructure to make sure that that work can be sustained and even scaled. So the work that we've been doing over the last several years is trying to think about how do you build the field of neuroarts and what would that really look like? So that's part of what we want to talk with you about today. We've had the opportunity to hear from each of you what you do in your practice. And it's just beautiful, brilliant, important work. And we want to hear more about some of the things that you're thinking about that you want to do in the future or that you're beginning to do. And also, what are the barriers and challenges that need to be brought down in order for you to do more of that? So I think that's kind of the nature of what we want to talk about today.
So I was in one of the, I think the second group of conversations that we had with this, and that was early on in our, the beginning of the whole quarantining and COVID-19 stuff that was happening. And since then, there's been a gigantic paradigm shift, particularly in the field that I'm involved most with, which is I'm just going to say classical music for lack of a better word. And I have been personally, most of my career has been in higher education. And I have what you might call a pedigree in music. So I went to traditional conservatories and I've been trained in very traditional kind of Western art music kind of tradition. And so since I finished school, I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to create a relationship with my audiences and with students and with people who, aren't completely interested in the Western art canon, and how to make that a little more relatable, or how to somehow widen the canon. And as a person who's been a member of this very kind of small group, it's frustrating, and it's been frustrating. So during the last couple of months, there has been just a dynamic explosion, a complete paradigm shift, especially for musicians and musicians who are classically trained. Not only have we been completely wiped out of our access to our concert halls and to our orchestras, and in many cases to our students, but then at the same time we've had this amazing sort of eye-opening for a lot of people experience with Black Lives Matter. And so the combination of those two things for me personally has been, even though it's been devastating in my personal kind of professional life where I've been, and as far as having a job and making a living, it is so exciting to finally see that we might actually have something that's gonna propel us into making some real change into a field that has needed it for my entire life and longer. And something that I've been frustrated with, trying to incorporate a wider scope and look at different kinds of music. And so I'm actually really excited about the idea of developing new ways that we can create inclusivity with a wider audience, but also a wider performing base that can come into kind of these traditional ensembles of chamber music or orchestras, and not knowing right now where the symphony orchestra is going to go with kind of what's available to it. I think we've got to make some huge changes. We've got to expand our repertoire. We've got to expand our audiences. And so this right now is an amazing opportunity in the midst of this just horrible experience that's happening to all of us, there's just some real opportunity to make some tremendously positive changes. So where I am right now is I've just sort of pulled out all my old notes, all my old lectures, all my old everything, and I'm going through things and figuring out ways I can change, ways I can incorporate a wider canon, ways I can find, I spend a lot of time exploring new music and trying to find new composers and things like that. But now I feel like I've got more people who are interested in it. Being in higher ed, a lot of times it's really hard to say, hey, let's try this new thing, because everybody kind of wants to stay with what has been working. If they ain't broke, don't fix it, kind of a thing. And so I'm really excited to find some new ideas and be creative, kind of in a forward motion. So that's where I am right now with a lot of this.
Lauren, you make a really interesting point, and I'm going to go to Diane in just a second. The institutions that have been set up have a power structure that has worked for them. And primarily that has been white America. And I think that what we're seeing right now is a breakdown, or at least an acknowledgement that there needs to be a breakdown of these institutions and rubrics that haven't worked for everyone. And so, I always think of demolition or deconstruction in renovation, where it always costs more to break it down, but then you get the opportunity to rebuild. And I think the creativity of this group in rebuilding is actually really important. But these institutions, to say we want to work in the current rubrics that have existed, may not be the right way to go. I think that's what I'm hearing you say. And Diane, I want to turn it over to you to add to that.
Two things I would offer to Lauren, that when you mentioned Black Lives Matter, immediately I started thinking of the classical composers who are Black and investigating that music canon, those who are those people, and sharing their experiences and their music would be a wonderful idea. I know Elio Pomare choreographed a work on me, and it was, God, I wish I could dig it out of my memory files. Eventually it will come forward. It was a Black classical composer, and he investigated the life of Lilith, who was Adam's first wife. Nobody knows that story. But anyway, I digress. I think that for dance, which is one of the most obvious forms of the healing art, and that the physicality will make your body stronger. It will force your muscles to contract and release and cleanse you and all of those wonderful things. But there is also this secret that's not so secret, but it is how it strengthens your spirit, how it fortifies the fact that your will is strengthened and fortified because of the fact that you're simply trying to do something physical. So when the pandemic hit, everybody was on lockdown and everybody was kind of static, and little by little, people started wanting to move in their kitchens, in their living rooms, even in their bathrooms. There were dances that were being created and put on TikTok and this and that. And then people started organizing these dances into expression. I found myself, I'm also a Pilates teacher. I found myself gathering some folks together, teaching Pilates on the floor in my den. I had about that much space, and I squeezed myself in and I taught, which then started me thinking, how much deeper can I dig into simply exercise and link my people who were taking class and link them to their spirits. And yes, these exercises are really hard, they're nasty, but when you start climbing the ladder of achievement, you become a stronger, more willful person who's then able to address an administration about changing a curriculum, because you've been fortified within yourself, which is the other piece of what I've been doing even at Hofstra University. I've been introducing and writing proposals for courses that will expose young people to the contributions of Black artists. I just got an okay to go ahead and move forward on a proposal, and you'll find this quite interesting too, that links up Black musical theater, Black drama, and the emergence of Black concert dance. I don't know what I'm gonna do. It was a grand dream, and now they said, okay, do it. So in it to win it. So I'll be calling you, JP, to get some more deeper history. And, you know, so it's the silver lining to this horrible COVID is that we are finally coming together, even spiritually, even when we don't realize it. So that's all I got to say.
No, absolutely. And, you know, talking about fortifying and empowering, in our last village chat, David, you were talking about the work that you do in public health settings. And it was just incredibly inspiring to me, because one of the things that COVID has also given us is, I think, a greater opportunity and maybe even a greater desire to tell our stories. You know, all of these Zoom chats and all of these coming together from around the country, and people are engaging with each other in a different way. But that basic individual, each of us individually, to understand that our story is important. Would you share some of your work? I mean, it's profound what you shared with us in the literature chat.
The most enjoyable part of everything that is going on right now is that the epistemology is being challenged. And I love being a part of that. For so long, we have determined that if it isn't done via a randomized control study, if it's not the compilation of equations, if it can't be shown, or if it's shown in a PowerPoint, that's what constitutes knowledge. That's what constitutes what's important. And it's not funny. It's always amazing how the universe always brings us back to what's most important. And what's most important are the stories. That's the real knowledge. That's the real wisdom. So as someone who has grown up in the African oral tradition, and really quickly, shout out to Baba and Mama Salam. I have performed with Dance Africa in DC with the Sankofa Dance Theater. It was awesome. So that is great to have y'all on here. To be a part of the movement in recognizing the importance of stories is bringing everything full circle. I got introduced to this at 10 years old, and it was because of a griot, Mama Mary Carter Smith, peace be upon her, that I found the power of storytelling, and to apply it in public health to show researchers and practitioners that storytelling elevates the research that you conduct. It brings the relevance of the research that you conduct to any audience. So you don't have to just rely on other researchers to get what you're doing. You can explain this to any person and they understand the importance if you include storytelling. When thinking about storytelling as a healing practice, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, if we talk about the lives of the LGBTQ plus community, when we talk about lives of the Islamic world, when we talk about lives of the Jewish world, we're talking about mitigated voices. That's what it comes down to. Their stories have been mitigated. Their stories have been dehumanized. So when you create a space when any person can tell their story and they know in their heart they're not being judged, there's no bias, we're here to just listen, because we recognize that your voice has power and we want to create a space where your voice has power. That in itself is the healing. That's what a lot of people come to understand about what I do with Discover Me, Recover Me. Like, there's no magic elixir. All we're doing is just letting you tell your story, but telling your story in a way that perhaps you've never had that chance before, which is without judgment and with respect. We genuinely want to hear what you have to say. And in that, people find the solutions to the challenges that they've always had. We're not giving them any advice, really. It's more so encouragement. So what I aim to do moving forward is to just expand that. And again, to continue challenging the epistemology of the sciences, to challenge the paradigms and the pedagogy of the sciences, it could be so much simpler. And I think that scares us as those with graduate degrees, internal degrees, because again, we've spent 4 to 6 to 8 years getting these pieces of paper to show that we're really, really smart and really, really educated. But a lot of times it's the simple stuff that is necessary. You never needed a PhD to do it. All the stuff I do with storytelling, I was doing it at 10. I didn't need a PhD to validate storytelling. But yet you put me in this space and I show what storytelling can bring to the sciences. That's the beauty of life. And that's the beauty of humanity. Love always wins, y'all. Love always wins. Humanity always wins. Let's stop fighting it.
Absolutely. In terms of that, and in a specific sort of a healing way, Jennifer and Brittany, you guys work directly with the veteran community. How have you seen the work that you do have an impact and have an empowerment and have a healing element to working with our wounded warriors?
So for me, I mentioned this during our literary chat. I learned firsthand about the healing benefits of telling your story. And from that, it's where I realized that there is value in that, in feeling heard, in feeling validated in a way, and to be seen. And so I took that experience and I translated that to what can I do within the community, specifically within the veteran community, because veterans are notorious for holding on to their stuff.
No way, get out of here.
We don't often like to talk about our experiences, unless if maybe we're with other veterans, because that's an audience that's going to understand and not judge you and not question you and not ask those really uncomfortable, inappropriate questions. So by creating an opportunity to connect with veterans, whether it be through writing or through dance or through visual arts, I've been fortunate to kind of dip my hands in every arena of arts, by definition. And yes, as a veteran myself, married to a veteran and working with veterans, I've gotten to see firsthand how there's this almost like a weight lifted off their shoulders once they can share that story. And then in a non-therapy setting too, a non-clinical environment, to where it could be in the comfort of your home. It could be out at a park, out at the bar. It doesn't matter. But the fact is we have these stories, we have these experiences, and it's not just about the individual to share it and really just purge it from their system, but also to share that with non-veterans, to where they can have a better appreciation and maybe understanding of why so many veterans, are dealing with PTSD, or have PTSD but are not dealing with it. So this is just a way to enhance that engagement and the communication between, and create that bridge that we talked about between the civilian community and the veteran community.
Yes, and yes, Jennifer. Hands down, yes. So part of with Creative Forces, my duty is not only the clinical side, but connecting them to the community side. So seeing that connection, right? Because this is a population that holds on to their stuff, and sometimes they may come see me in the clinic and we might make some headway and progress here, but are they really in the community? Are they really getting that full holistic healing and connection, right? Because we think about it as a person, as their ecosystem of like their individual, their circle around them, further. Where are they being connected? How can I help facilitate that connection, right? With all people like you, connecting them to different resources, right? Because there's only so much work that I can do in one session a week, or that, it all depends. And part of the work that I do is, like you, David, and the Salams and Jennifer and everyone here, is giving the voice to them, helping them draw out their voice and their movement expression. So oftentimes, and that's everyone in general, but oftentimes military individuals, they don't realize that they move on a daily basis when they were in active military, right? And then they hear about dance movement therapy. They're like, whoa, I'm not doing that. I was like, okay, but they miss that as veterans. Sometimes they miss that sense of community, and then getting them to move with one another gets them to feel that connection and community again with one another. But then at the same time, there's so many different layers of trauma that go into any individual, whether it's military or not, that I work with. And you can take the military out of it, and then there's still this other person that comes with all these other layers, right, that we need to focus on and work with their story, because it's not just the military that's a part of their story. It is a huge part of their story, right? So how can they express that story, and how do they want to express that story?
Yeah, that's great.
Right.
Every one of us can be catalysts for that. You know, it's so important. I mean, the Straz Center is one of, in conjunction with James Haley VA Hospital, is one of 11 Creative Forces initiatives from around the country, really working towards understanding as arts institutions or as artists, how we can create that bridge from the clinic to the community in enriching and therapeutic ways, albeit we're not therapists, but really, you know, in therapeutic ways, really being able to do that. I just want to ask Paige, and then Abdul, go right to you. In terms of education, you know, and the university, what are the changes, or what are the conversations that are being had now relative to the arts, but, you know, just relative to the impact that COVID-19 has had upon taking traditional performance spaces away? And as someone who teaches on that university level and as a drama therapist, what are some of the new outcomes?
So we're really still in that discussion stage of how are we moving this into an online platform, and looking at how do we not lose what we gain from being in person in the arts. So I think we're having that conversation on two levels. You know, there's the physical space level, which is, how do I have a dance class if I don't have a dance studio? And how do I, you know, use clay if I don't have a wheel, and I can't send a wheel to every student? And so I think that that's sort of the practical side of it. But I think what interests me more is the conversation we're having about how do you create that connection that the arts always have. There's no way to be involved in an artistic expression without being connected to others, to yourself. And when you're moving that into an online platform, how do we continue that? And I don't know if we have the answer to that yet. I think we're still, what I think is beautiful is that a lot of our conversations in our arts department are also being connected to the conversations in our counseling and psychology, because they're having that same, they're having to negotiate that same path of how to create connection when there's this clear boundary of an internet. Mm-hmm. And so it's nice to see those conversations now happening together, which I don't think have always happened. They do in the creative arts world, that's what we do. But it's nice to see that happen at an institutional level, at an academia level. Yes. But I don't know if we have the answer to that. I think we're still looking for those answers. And I think that's part of why this excites me, because I think that, you know, the more conversations we have and the broader those conversations are, the more likely we are to get to those answers.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, one of the things that has been interesting on the healthcare side is telehealth. It has just exploded, and crazy, and art and drama, and, you know, dropping packets. We in Baltimore, we're dropping 10,000 packets into the homes of kids for the summer art packets, and seeing this integration of digital and analog and seeing how we can reach so many people in their homes right now, I think is sort of interesting. How have any of you been doing much work in the sort of virtual care realm?
So all of my work has been virtual, and it took some getting used to because storytelling is very experiential, and there's something about being with people, having that having that experience. But for what it's worth, I think it's been pretty good. So I've done a few sessions with various groups and workshops around storytelling, and you can still feel that humanity. You can still feel that love, even in a virtual format. So that gives me encouragement that even if this is our circumstance for the foreseeable future, it's one where the power of storytelling can still be conveyed.
Okay. Yeah, and I'd like to jump in and also go back to a question Paige asked. And so as I take a look at this format that we're all a part of right now, we have 9 images that are on screen, all interacting, all sharing, and all being a part of this kind of evolving, living, organic culture of thought that, if you will, is moving and dancing. We're improvising and choreographing as we speak, and finding those new answers and looking for some of these solutions that Paige was saying in her question. I don't know if it exists. I would offer Paige that it does exist. It does exist in the exact moment of what it is that we are currently doing. I would also, I think it's also to extend the thought. A lot of times as an artist or an artistic director or a performer or a person that works within the arts, I have a tendency, one of my limitations sometimes is to always speak in the realm of the arts and to other artists. But what I'm seeing right now, is that there is an interdisciplinary thought, a culture that is being born in the moment, that is virtual, that is not only informative, but it also has a certain degree of, if you will, in-person physicality to it. For example, while I'm an artist, my mother was in healthcare for her entire life, and she was the head of an emergency room, and I watched the emergency room as a caregiver destroy her life because she was constantly giving and trying to heal people. And a lot of times, as people in the healthcare industry know, when you are a person that is constantly dealing with trying to help and heal people, sometimes you absorb, those sicknesses and those illnesses that you are dealing with in terms of your clients and your patients. So what she brought to mind is that when she would take me to the doctor, the first thing that the doctor would say when he was trying to help me overcome a problem is, well, let me take a culture, of your blood, right? Let me do a culture right at that moment. And a lot of times, I think a lot of us in the arts, when we think of culture, we only think of culture as that which is artistic, as performance and dance, music and art, and rhythm and theater and visual art. But culture in itself is also a living organic entity, which is the sum total and composite of every living part of the essence of who you are, right? It goes back, if Jung is correct into that, that primal essence, that primal scream, that primal DNA that we all have, this exists within us, that your culture is the living being which is capable of creating and redoing and finding the answers to every single thing that you know. So in order to heal, we have to dig deeply into who we are as individuals. To touch upon, my brother's conversation about story, it is about storytelling, but it's about the storytelling of the individual and the society and the group. That your individual story, in some kind of way, it relates to the story of the group, and the story of the group, as well as the story of the individual within that, is the answer to the healing. It is maybe not the answer. I'm sorry, that's a little bit megalomaniac. It is an answer, right? That we can all come about. And we all have a series of answers that when we come together, it's this kind of exchange which enables us to come up with new ideas, with new concepts. I would offer it also to Paige that it is about balance. It's not about, it's not about just pedagogy, and it's not just about systems and only discipline, but pedagogy and systems and discipline like John Coltrane taught us, it opens up the door for improvisation. It opens up the door for new thought. I did this in another workshop the other day. I was at the Village East, maybe about in, I was it, 19, I think it was in 1960, I think it was 1967 or 68, and Coltrane was battling with the saxes, with Sonny Rollins and Ornette Coleman and all of the, you know, and all of the major horns at the time. You know, and Sonny Rollins was coming out selling wolf tickets to John Coltrane. Hey, I'll be back, John, to face off with you. And Coltrane had moved and evolved in that particular point from his classical years, from his formative years, from his predictable years of playing bop and classical music and all the things that people were familiar with. He was now into the new music. And he started out doing something in that time frame, and you know, that kind of became a seminal principle in my life. He started to take an unaccompanied solo. We talk about the individual stories, right? And he played a solo, and he took a very traditional tune, which was from My Favorite Things. Everybody knows the tunes. Right? Everybody could sing My Favorite Things. We saw Sound of Music, blah, 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 blah. But in his experimentalism, he started out with a solo, and he went, I'm making it up, right? And then he goes up a half a step. Then he takes up another half step. Well, by the time he does that 9 times and goes up chromatically, by the time he gets into the 13th interval, he's playing so fast that what was recognizable is now as right? And so for the uninitiated ear, it sounded like he was just picking up the saxophone and playing nonsense. But to the initiated ear, they saw chord, they saw structure, they saw pedagogy, they saw discipline, they saw the things of systems, right, which all of us are involved in. They saw these systems come together and improvise. And then that improvisation started playing 2 notes and 3 notes at a time, and overtones and multiple rhythms and new ways of seeing things and doing things. So I would offer, you know, Paige, when you say that the answer, we do have the answer. We have to continue to do these kind of things. I mean, I don't know about most of it, but I've got experiences in theater, in art, in visual arts, you know, in drawing, in costume design, and, you know, but I also have people in my background, in my family, that were in the military, right? And I also have people that were, you know, that were in healing, right, in the healing arts. So this healing thing that we are all committed to, right? This healing thing is something that we do have the answers, because our bodies are constantly healing us day by day. Our cells are dancing and choreographing and working and interrelating with and improvising and finding new ways of expression to constantly bring us into this state, you know, this state of health. And I'm just so damn excited, you know, about this, because every time we come together like this, I get another, you know, aha, like the you know, the military thing you were talking about. Now I think I want to do a piece, you know, it's something John and I talked about. I want to do a piece now about, you know, about the military, you know, how the military, I mean, I'm not getting it out. I'm sorry, darling. But when you said that, it was like, wow, I haven't done a piece like that yet. You know, I haven't tackled that subject, you know. And the last thing I'll say is, brother, with that storytelling concept, every time I listen to Susan, every time I listen to John, every time I listen to Fred, it's like I'm learning something about myself from their stories. I'm learning something about my own initiative from their stories, and not just the brilliance of who they are in their academic discipline, but their stories. And so that was like right on point, you know. Let me shut up.
Can I just jump in there a little bit? I'm sorry. I'm a first time speaker here.
You're the virgin.
You're on the clock.
You're the virgin.
I'm on the clock. But you know,
right.
I'm just excited about this, because you know, we talk about our pathways and our methodology, and I'm just reminded of 2 basic principles that I've been kind of living by, hermetic principles. One is correspondence, and the other one is polarity. In terms of opposites meet. There's no difference between hot and cold. The only difference is in degrees. And so there, and correspondence in terms of what is above is the same that is below. So a lot of what I do is in my classes and in my conversations is within stories or within concepts to make an analogy between something that someone is aware of and knows and lives with to something that they might not be aware of. And I do that in terms of my social justice work. I do that in terms of, and I use, and I do that in terms of dance. And dance I use as the vehicle because there's a common thing that we all have, and that's our bodies. And the ability or the inability sometimes to move through time and space. And so, that is a great catalyst. I find that that's a great catalyst in terms of being a method in order to disseminate information and knowledge to people. And in the process of that, like stories, there is a healing component within that. I've been a performer for a number of years, but always wanted to use dance as a communicative medium to speak as a vehicle, because that's how I got turned on to dance in the first place, because I found my voice, my communicative voice through dance. I was able to express what I wanted to say in my life through moving through time and space. So therefore, it is a vehicle, but it doesn't tell you what to say. And so through knowledge and these conversations is giving me ammunition, is giving me food, it's giving me nourishment in order to be more prolific in terms of what I say and how I say it. So I want to thank everybody.
That's beautiful. Time is tapping on my shoulder hard and saying, this is like an amazing conversation, but we're going to have to wrap it up in just a couple of minutes. Susan, as we move forward, where do we go from here? First of all, each and every one of you are just magnificent. Thank you so much for all of your participation. And this journey is going to continue. Where might we go, and how do we see ourselves moving forward, Susan?
Well, I was just, as I was listening to this last round, I feel, the body electric, right? I mean, my body is just like humming with cellular energy and joy. And I think that's, I was thinking about, safety and fear. And then I was like, you know what? The arts move you past that so quickly into doing and acting and being and feeling. I think the word is feeling. And so, first of all, I'm just so honored to be part of this and to listen to each of you. You guys really just rock it, and it's wonderful. I think, these conversations help us go be deeper. As John was saying, we know things now in ways we didn't see before. Maybe we didn't see them at all. And so, I think where we go from here is, we're celebrating and honoring this work. But I also think there's work to be done. And I guess maybe what I want us to maybe think about focusing on is, what do we need to change in order for this work to be systemic, to scale, to be what we want it to be? I think we know what it shouldn't be. David, your work and your talk about, where these blends of academia and life, fall apart, come together. But what do we want it to be? And how do we get there? What do we have to do to get there? So that's something that I'm really interested in. And maybe that's the way we start to continue this conversation. But we should also always have joy and celebration in the fact that the arts are what do it for us in the very instant. You don't have to wait for the return on this investment. It happens right away for all of the constituencies that we're talking about. And I can't think of anything that gives you the return on investment right away. You feel good instantly when you dance. Right now my desire is to dance. It's like you guys have made me like, yeah, I need to dance. And hey, it's Friday. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. a perfect example of that is, yes, a perfect example of that is, you know, in the everyday chaos and madness of working at performing arts centers, and especially when, you know, when we're really, really rolling at the Straz Center and there's so many things going on and some unanswered questions that you wouldn't have, I'd run up the stairs. Well, I wouldn't necessarily run up the stairs. I might take the elevator, but I'd go upstairs and I'd go into the office, and as I'd go to my desk, I'd look to the left, and there was this beautiful picture of Morticia that Giovanna created, this wonderful, wonderful picture. And it was phenomenal. And I would always look there and go, oh my God, but you know what? When you stop for a minute, you recognize that there's somebody who knows how to create some beauty. And it just shifted the way that I felt. So, you know, Giovanna, your visual art has just been magnificent. You wanted to say something as we close.
Yes, I'm sorry, I've been kind of quiet. I've always considered myself a student even after graduating. I just love absorbing and continuing to educate myself and hearing people like yourselves. I mean, you guys are so knowledgeable in all this. So I'm just here absorbing. And yes, I agree with everything that's been said. I think is very important. Just to give my little 2 cents from a visual arts perspective, I think overall the arts, I think in a moment of chaos, we turn to creativity because it's our most instinctive form of freedom. And just to express that and have the community see that, and you know, everybody has their own story and reflects on your artwork. You know, they don't hear exactly what you're saying, but they're hearing through what you are creating. So I love the mentality of the artist that we think as the collective. You know, we know the impact on the individual, but we know the power behind the community. So from a visual arts perspective, you know, it's not always entertainment. It's commentary, it's education, it's healing, it's to bring awareness to the community. And through that, we inspire action. So I just want to kind of mention, you know, I think the best way to move forward is educating, because you can't heal something that people are not aware is infecting us. So it's the most non-confrontational, non-intimidating method to just bring out that message and heal the community through something that's instinctive to us, is to be creative. You know, you don't have to consider yourself an artiste, you know, just involve yourself in the community, be part of it with us. And you know, we're so encouraging and loving of one another. I've never met a more supportive community in my entire life. And I think that's the best way to move forward, is knowing that this is the community that we can speak up, educate ourselves, and continue to explore our own mentality towards what's happening in the world around us.
Thank you, Giovanna. Now, first of all, let me go on record saying that was not 2 cents. That was worth thousands and thousands, okay? So just know your quotient is way higher than 2 cents. We've got to go, but this is awesome. We will continue this journey. Some of the ideas and overviews that we talked about, Susan, we will definitely get together with our team. We are so honored, and thank each and every one of you for your participation in each of the chats that you did, and for this one as well. David, Lauren, and Paige, and Abdul, and Diane, and Giovanna, John, Jennifer, Brittany, and Susan Mag Salmon. Thank you so very, very, very much. We are so excited, and you could really feel it today, you know, when everybody came together. It's just, this is depth. This works. You were right, Susan. This absolutely is a great, great start. Peace and blessings to you all here, and peace and blessings to all of us, all of those out there who are giving us this time to share in this journey of understanding and celebration and joy and introspection as well. I'm Fred Johnson from the Straz Center. So thankful for all of you. So thankful that we continue our journey on and with and of the arts, albeit from a distance. We can be connected in heart, we can be connected in intention, and I'm sure that changes, good, powerful changes are happening because we make the commitment to be together. Please take care, stay strong, stay safe, stay well, and stay connected. Take care.